Hey everyone, it's Lisa. Welcome back to my channel. At the end of every one of my videos, some of you who watch may know, I always say that I share food from scratch, natural living in a handmade home. That's what my blog's about. That's what I've been sharing here on YouTube for 5 years now. But I haven't done any sewing projects in quite a while, mostly because, well, it's always an excuse when you say I don't have time, because really you have time for what you want to have time for. So I guess there have been other priorities in my life that I have not taken the time or made the time to sew. But more recently, we have found the need for some kind of nursery situation for our son, Theo. So Theo is now 10 months old and he has been co-sleeping, or he co-slept 100% through the night with me for about, gosh, when did I start putting him in his bed a little bit? Probably around 8 or 9 months. So it's recent that at night, I have started transitioning him into a pack and play. The reason for that is he is getting super wild in his sleep. He even headbutted me one night and I had a cut on my lip. He rolls all over the place and I'm worried that he's gonna fall off the bed. He doesn't get great sleep. I don't get great sleep. And so it is time. It has been time to transition him. So for a while, we just put him in the pack and play at night and that worked just fine. But I found that I started to want to wean him off of some of the night nursings just because he was waking up so often because he wanted that comfort, obviously, in the middle of the night. But I didn't really want to co-sleep him anymore because of all the reasons I just mentioned. It just stopped working. And at some point with every kid, it just stops working. And usually for me, it's always around that 8 to 10 months time that it works beautifully and then it doesn't. And so I needed something to where he couldn't see me. Every time he'd wake up and look at me, he wanted me to pick him up. So for a while, what I did was I took one of my curtains and I wrapped it around the pack and play. This was actually my sister's idea and it worked great. I just clothespinned the curtain like around it. It was great, but I wanted something a little bit more permanent and a little bit more beautiful because the way our house is laid out, we aren't going to be able to move Theodore to his own room for quite a while. With the way that all the other kids are situated in the house, there just isn't anywhere that I really want him to go. I could move, you know, one boy into another boy's room, but I'm not really ready to make that transition either because I'm afraid that it would be a zoo with the 2-year-old, with the 4-year-old, with the 6-year-old. So anyways, because of that, he needs to stay in our room. So I did some brainstorming, some Pinterest searching, and came up with a few ideas. Now, my first idea was to build a closet. I got this wild idea because to me, closets are the best nursery. For all of you who have a walk-in closet, I'm sure a lot of you who are moms of littles know this. It's the best. Whenever we go to, you know, an Airbnb or somewhere where there is a closet that's large enough to fit a pack and play, that is like the best nursery because they're so close to you, but yet there's a door. So that way, you know, if you make any noise at all, the baby doesn't wake up. And then they don't also see you and want you all night long. So I brainstormed an idea, which ended up like the proportions were not gonna work. But I thought, like, what if we could put a closet behind where I have our faux mantle and make it look like a faux chimney? But for that to be wide enough to fit a pack and play, it would have taken up way too much space in our room, and it also would have looked wrong because no chimney is actually that wide. I definitely played with that one for several days. I even texted my friend Paige from Farmhouse Vernacular like several different pictures and I asked her opinion on it. And we both decided that it could be cool, but it probably needed to be wider than would look good. And then also, obviously, that's something that's gonna take huge amounts of time and money. And so I needed a solution right now. I have a curtain around the pack and play. I need something. So then I started thinking about crib canopies. I've seen them on Etsy, I've seen them on Pinterest, they're very beautiful. And I came across a couple images that sparked an idea. One had a canopy bed with curtains all around it. And then I also saw several that had a very old world style. So think tons of layers and curtains and canopies, and I loved that look. Now what I'm actually gonna go with here isn't going to be quite that extravagant, but it does borrow some of the feel and idea from. Okay, so this is what I got. I ordered these velvet curtains over on Amazon. I will link them down below. They're just some basic velvet curtains in the color stone, I believe. Came with 2 panels, so this was a lot less expensive than ordering fabric. I wanted to do the same thing with the actual fabric that I was gonna have showing. I knew that it would be a lot cheaper to buy curtains than it would be to buy fabric, but I couldn't find the fabric that I really wanted. I ended up going with this block print. I'm always very attracted to block print. And since this fabric goes so well with the rest of our decor, I have so much blue and then like off-white around the house that I knew that one day when we don't need this anymore, or if we don't need it, I'm sure at some point this could move to a nursery and still look really beautiful, even though it's not necessary to have the curtain around it. But I'm going to make these curtains in such a way that there's going to be very little cutting. And so if I ever want to repurpose the fabric, I can take the curtains back apart. They're in very large sections. They can be remade into curtains for smaller windows or pillows. I don't know, anything. I could reuse this. So that's a happy thought, just because it wasn't the cheapest fabric, but it also wasn't the worst. It was not too bad. All right, let's dive into making this and you can see my vision come to life. One of the beautiful things about using pre-sewn curtains is I was able to utilize the outside hemmed edges to create a lovely border for my curtains. So I simply took the fabric that I bought and placed it around the hemmed edges, folded it under so that way I created a nice finished edge, lined it up with the outside edges, and then sewed it on along the original hemline. So that way I could create this nice border around the fabric. With projects like this, I like to hem them in place. When something is draped, you feel like you're gonna be able to just measure it and hem it, but really once it's up there and hanging, it's a lot easier. At least that's my experience anyways. Probably that's my lack of pinning and just winging it that makes that happen. So I also sewed down and then cut it when I got to the bottom of the fabric. That way if there was any stretch or give, I could just cut it in place knowing that I would get the accurate cut. All right, I'm really wrestling with the fact that I have to hem these. It's just so easy to just throw this fabric right on top of these velvet curtains, but it's definitely not right for it to be that long. So I'm gonna hem this one, and that way I'll know to not cut this much off for the rest of it, because now obviously I'm wasting this much fabric, which is, ooh, actually, it's a little short for a crib skirt. I was thinking I could almost just cut this off and do a crib skirt. Man, hindsight, if I could figure out a way to do that, that would be so cute to have a matching crib skirt with this velvet lined. Will say though, I am very, very happy with how this looks. I was afraid I wasn't gonna like the fabrics together when I saw them apart. I mean, I liked them in theory, but obviously I ordered them. All right, let's see here. Now I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna do this big, thick hem that's so pretty or not. Man, I hate to do this. I'm just trying to decide if I'm gonna do my big, thick hem or my not big, thick hem. No, we're gonna go, we should just get some.
Well, why are you doing that?
Because it needs to be shorter, unfortunately.
I'll just wait till we get that to make it.
Hey.
Mom, don't take off this part, because I really want.
Well, don't worry, it's coming back. I just have to trim it a little bit.
No, Mom.
I'm gonna trim this first, and I'll
No,
trim
Mom, don't.
This is gonna go up like this.
Don't cut the blue part. I love the blue part. It's really.
You like having that?
Right here.
Is it like a fort in there?
Yes.
Now for the back of the crib and the left side, I cheated and only used the velvet curtains. Since the fabric would have been facing the walls, I figured nobody would notice, that'd be a waste of fabric, and so it looks like they're the same curtains, but in reality, it's just the velvet turned backwards. For the side panels, I took the normal curtain panels and then just cut them right down the middle and hemmed the long sides. I didn't need full width curtains on the short sides, but I did still want to have them because whenever you gather them together with the long sides and the short sides, it makes this really nice drapey canopy effect that I really wanted to create. So I wanted 2 curtains on each of the short sides, but I could get away with doing it half. Now on the left side, I just hung the cut in half hemmed velvet curtains backwards, and then on the right side where you would see the fabric, I also lined it with my block print fabric in the same way that I did the 2 front panels. I decided to create some tiebacks with the leftovers that I cut off of the velvet curtains. I probably won't use these a ton, but sometimes when I want to put my room together, I want to make my bed with the pillows and open the curtains and just make it look nice. I wanted to be able to tie back Theo's curtains on all 4 corners to give it that drapey look. I actually love it so much that maybe I'll do it more than I thought. Another adorable thing in Theo's crib that I want to point out is this crocheted Highland cow. Last year around this time, whenever Theo was born, Emily from Sweet Creek Boutique on Etsy sent me an adorable crocheted bear mat for me to photograph Theo on. And for his first birthday, which is just next month, she sent me these Highland cows. So cute. I cannot wait to take his first birthday photos on them, but I wanted to share them with you also. She is a 13-year-old homeschool student, so when she offered to send me some of her creations to tell my audience about, I was really excited to share. So I will leave it linked below so that you can go check out Sweet Creek Boutique in the description box below. All right, well, I hope that you enjoyed this video and found some inspiration for your own nursery. If room sharing with a baby, an older baby at that, a soon-to-be toddler, and you know, for a long time, Theo is now going to be in our room. And so this will be a semi-long-term situation that I really wanted to put some effort into. I hope that I inspired you, if you're in the same situation, to do the same thing. Maybe find some fabrics you like, or a patterned curtain and then another backing curtain, and create something luxurious and drapey and beautiful that won't be an eyesore in your room. That's one of my favorite things about this, is now when I walk into this room, it's so pretty. It's not just a pack and play shoved in the corner. It is actually a part of the decor. It fits in with all of the other colors in this room, and I really enjoy it. And then of course it has the added benefit of being a little bit darker for Theo for sleeping. These curtains are really thick, and so it blocks out sound. We have a very squeaky door, and so even in the middle of the night when I just have to get up to go to the bathroom, I find myself waking Theo up. And so having this, I think, at least hopefully, should be very helpful for the duration of a toddler staying in our room. All right, well, thank you so much for watching. If you are brand new, please hit that subscribe button. I make new videos every week on food from scratch, natural living, and our handmade home. Thank you so much for stopping by our farmhouse.